There's so many things tied to our health, our mentalness, our spirit, our physical body. Let's see how they all work together.
Building spirituality, family, health, and business. This is the Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.
Hey, Giant Builders, welcome back. I'm so happy you're here. It must be 2 o'clock on Tuesday because here we are. So today's guest is Heather Hansen. Hi, Heather. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, my background was in nursing, and I actually did not like what my doctors were telling me about having autoimmune thyroid, that I was stuck with it. So I decided to go on a mission on how I was going to figure out how I was going to solve my problem. And it took a really long time, and it took a lot of dietary changes and stress and more things that I know now to actually help it, and actually dealing with a lot of trauma. But it guided my journey into wellness myself, but then also guided my career into holistic nutrition and then coaching and then mindset, and really working on deeper trauma with unwinding that into breath work and that type of thing. So it's been a little bit of an evolution of time.
Wow. Kudos to you. It's like I hadn't taken charge of this.
I think I was born a stubborn child where I didn't want anybody telling me what to do. So the fact that somebody was telling me I was going to feel awful for the rest of my life and there was nothing to do about it is like, I don't think so.
Yeah, I was like, no, that's not the way God wants us to do our life. So we'll do something about it.
Exactly.
So what's the process that you help people work through like their concerns?
So, my goal now is, because now I'm 50, and, when women get into their 40s and their 50s, they're really trying to figure out who they are, where are they going, what are they doing, what is their purpose here on earth, right? What is their sole purpose and why are they here? And I was talking to so many women about that, and I was actually going through that myself, to where I really help women that just don't feel like they think they should feel, and they feel a little bit confused on where they need to go. I help them with any type of symptoms they may be having, like brain fog or fatigue or bloating, and really identify it to what's going on in their body, and helping them find peace within their body so they actually love the body that they live in, and wake up feeling refreshed, and know that they're just going on into the next stage of their life feeling full of energy.
Hmm. Well, it happens at 62, so
It is, right? And I say we redefine ourselves all the time, right? We are not who we were when we were 20. We never will be. We'll never be who we are in our 40s or our 50s or our 60s or our 70s. And if we spend our time trying to grasp and go backwards and get what we used to have, we're never living the life that we can actually have
Mhm.
on each day and each decade. So it really is, we turn into new people. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not that 20-year-old anymore. Thank goodness.
No, I wish I had 20-year-old skin sometimes, but I don't want to be. But all the lessons that I've learned since I've been 20, I definitely will take those and embrace them.
Yeah. So what does the first meeting look like with you?
So the first meeting, I asked people a lot of questions because I wanted to know head to toe, how are you feeling? What are you struggling with? And so the first meeting, we go over some of the basic stuff of hydration. Are you sleeping? Are you eating? How are you eating? What are you eating? And we go through those particular pieces. And then I really want to know, well, how do you want to feel? Because if you know how you want to feel, it's a lot easier to get there, right? And having the hope that you can get there, because a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm just getting older, or oh, I have this. There's no hope. And that is not true at all. There really is a journey on really seeing where you're at. So it's taking each person as an individual and see where they're at, because I have plenty of people that eat clean, they're hydrating, they're moving their bodies, but they're so hard on themselves, and the language that they're using with themselves it's really beating them down. And so we have to define, okay, what are we doing and what are we working on each piece? And so that's why I really combine the body is important, the mind is important, and your soul is important. And as we're working on each of those pieces collectively, then we start to unwind some of the old emotions and process them without having to talk about it so much. So it's very individualized with each person, but there's components that everybody needs.
So which part of us is the biggest conflict? Our mind, our body? Who's the biggest conflict in this triangle?
It's the soul.
The soul?
Um, it really is. It's our soul, it's our spirits, because that's what gets beaten down over time, right? Of through some of the work and training that I've done, there's a concept called your original child. And the original child is who would you be had none of the crap happened to you in your life? Okay. And that child is deep down within all of us, right? But with living on the planet Earth, we all are going to have things that we stuff down inside, right? And trauma can be, sounds like a really, really bad word, but it doesn't always mean that. It just means there was too much going on in any given time for the mind to process and the body can hold on to it. And so then we hold on to these emotions and we hold on to this trauma and it's stuffed down inside and it affects the physiology of our bodies there. And it tamps down who we're supposed to be, like why we're here on the earth, right? So, and sometimes we're so busy proving ourselves to others and checking the boxes of, well, if I just do this one additional thing, then I want. And then you get there and you're like, ooh, something's still missing. And then you have to accomplish another thing. And you're like, oh, I'll win once I get here. And you're like, nope, not quite. And then it's another thing. And it's always something that's more deep rooted of getting down to that bottom line of then the things that we're doing.
So how do we get to that bottom line? How do we find that block?
So, so my favorite thing that I've ever brought into my practice and into my own life, and it was something I will say that my old self was very much a control freak, where I had to control everything at every moment, even though most people didn't know I was trying to control everything because I was doing it in such a lovely manner. Right. So from the outside, it didn't look that way, but from the inside, it was me trying to navigate all these pieces. And I realized I was doing that because gaining control of my environment is how I would keep myself safe. And I learned that as a little girl, that
Mm.
I had to keep myself safe. And so I developed all of these things in this control mechanism. So when I finally got to the point where I had to work on that piece, and it was a piece that actually brought me back into a relationship with God again because I wasn't sure I trusted at that point, and I needed to be reconnected with it. And it's a combination of breath work and energy work and body work, but none of them. It's like a little bit of everything. And it's so individualized. And when I first did this particular breath work, I was just letting the person guide me through it. And it was just such a life changing experience that it actually connected in imagery to an event I saw when I was a little girl, maybe 3 or 4, to my thyroid goiter, to my thyroid autoimmunity. And I wasn't talking about any of that stuff, none of it. I mean, there was no talk about it. And all of a sudden, those two images flashed in front of my eyes. And I was like, oh, and I knew trauma was connected to the body not working right, right? If you read the body keeps score, you do. And once I saw that, I was speechless. And then it allowed my body to come into more safety with that. And I felt better. And that process is also to bring you closer to God. And I know not everybody, you can say God, universe, spirit, whatever you want to say, right? Something that's bigger than us energetically.
I like
Um, yeah, me too, but it's not, and I know it's not for everybody. And there was a period of my life where I'm like, I don't think I trust you, right? So I was going to do it on my own, but I realized I couldn't do it on my own. So that particular breathwork experience. I was actually in their first class that they taught, and I started that back in January. And it's just so simple of asking the body what it wants at any given time. And it's guided through different types of breath. And then the body tells you, but it lets the body unwind those emotions. It unwinds that trauma, that tightness. And you don't have to talk about it. All you have to do is breathe in a specific way. And you're putting your hands on specific parts of your body with the breath. And that has been my favorite piece because immediately people realize, wow, I was holding on to something, right? They may not be able to explain it. That piece of that unwinding combined with let's get your body functioning and working better and eating clean and hydrating and not being perfect in any way, shape, or form because that doesn't exist, but just being able to be as good to your body, talking nicely to yourself,
Mhm.
right? Women are really bad about that, talking nicely to themselves. And when you get all of those aspects combined, you just feel alive. You feel balanced, right? You're not really chasing anything anymore. It's so hard to explain, but definitely when you witness doing it the first time, it's like, oh my gosh, okay, that was pretty amazing. Now what? Now how do I do it? But I realized that was the missing piece, right? Because mind and body, gut and brain, all of that, I had been working with that types of things for years, but just adding this extra piece of bringing that piece back into your body without having to talk through it is important because sometimes you can't talk through it. And sometimes you don't know how to talk through it. And sometimes your unconscious mind is holding on to something that you don't even know. But this breath and energy work allows that to be uncovered without having to feel the ickiness of it.
Oh, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite parts that I've ever integrated.
So I'm just curious, is it mentally focusing on your breath or a specific part of your body?
So both.
Okay.
For instance, each part of our body, right? So you think about you have your pelvic floor, and then your bladder and your belly, and then your stomach area is more of your fire, and then you have heart, right? That's more
Yeah.
mineral, right? You have your throat. A lot of people think they don't have a voice, right? So that's important. That's where I had that imagery. As soon as I put my hands on my throat, those images came. And then you have nature. And so it's 5 different breaths that I walk people through. So it's very simple. It's in through the nose and out through the mouth, in through the mouth, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the nose, in through the mouth, out through the nose, and then in through the nose and mouth and out through the nose and mouth at the same time. And each person based on where they were born, so their date, their where they were born, city and state, and
Hmm.
their full date of birth and timing of birth, it really says what's their innate breath that their body really likes. And once you get in tune with that, it kicks in and your body does it automatically. And it just brings calmness to your body once you start breathing that way.
Hmm. Okay. I think that's really cool. It's kind of like a journey that God would put us through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I that particular part, and I do believe that. I believe that the last 2.5, 3 years of my life were getting me ready for the next phase of my life.
Hmm.
And things were placed in front of me and they were put there. Maybe I was going in and kicking or screaming, right? That I didn't want to work on that. Like, no, no, no. But it was almost like I was being pushed into it by God, um, for reasons, because I needed to unwind my childhood and teenage years, all the stuff that I stuffed down and moved away. Apparently, that's not really dealing with it. I didn't know that. I thought it was. Right. And I just kept going. Right. And then I stuffed more stuff down and I kept going. Well, I had to unwind some of that type of thing because last year, actually, it's going to be 1 year tomorrow. Unexpectedly, my oldest son died.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And had I not gone through that journey leading up to that, and then had I not brought this particular um, work into my practice, I don't know that I'd be sitting here talking to you today, right?
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are all important, right? And it doesn't mean, yes, I'm talking, I'm not crying, I'm good, I'm talking, I'm working, I'm doing all those things, but I have a process that I go through every day so that I can do all the other stuff.
Uh-huh.
And, those things are important, but had I not gone through all of that experience, I wouldn't be able to guide anybody else. So, um, I know a big part of my sole purpose of being here is really to help guide other people, but it's because I went through it first and I understand it. And then I have a connection and compassion to be able to guide people through really hard parts, right, of their life that sometimes they've been running from for a really long time.
Yeah, there is a big difference when you've been through it and you're helping people than
Mm.
just, oh yeah, I've taken these classes.
Right. It is, education is there, but I'm going to tell you the education of life. And then you combined it with education, like you put those two things together, those are pretty powerful
Hmm.
components.
Yeah. And one of the things in your notes that kind of stood out to me because I'm very guilty of this is not resting the body. I think it's just I have a really hard mental block on that.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's the personality type or just being a woman or what, but it's really hard for me to like, okay, I'm not doing anything this weekend. Oh, that's too hard.
I've had multiple conversations like this with friends and clients, and, even myself. If I was so busy doing so many things, but part of it was I wasn't enjoying things thoroughly because I was so busy doing. And if I had a problem to solve, I might have six solutions to the problem when you really only need one, okay, because you have that overactive mind. But what I've come to find out is that overactive always have to be doing something. It's because we're avoiding something that's deep inside, and sitting in silence means it's coming up. And then you have to feel uncomfortable. And then you have to do something about it, or it's going to continue to feel uncomfortable. So, to avoid feeling that uncomfortableness, keep yourself busy doing, doing, doing. And it was really hard. And I had to be told many times over the years by many different people in many different walks of life of, Heather, stop. You are a human being, not a human doing. And I'm
Mm.
like, okay, it doesn't affect me. Okay, doesn't affect me. Well, it did. I just
Yeah.
didn't want to hear it. Right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I can see where, yeah, I would say that my resting has some mental blocks because of things it reminds me of.
Yes, yes, yes. And and there's probably stuff you stuffed down that you didn't realize too, right? And then once you actually start allowing that time to be able to feel it, because sometimes, for instance, my 7-year-old granddaughter, she told me one day, she's like, Nana, I am just so, so sad. Or no, she said, I'm so, so emotional. And I said, she just turned 7 2
Oh,
weeks ago.
wow. 13 is going to be hard.
I know. I'm so, so emotional. And, we've had a lot of family stuff with her uncle dying. And then his daughter, she is a long story that we won't go into, but we're not able to see her right now. And they've always been there. They lived a mile apart. They've always been big parts of her life. And when she was telling me she was so, so emotional, I said, okay, well, let's talk about this for a moment. I said, emotions are anything, right? Happiness is an emotion. Sadness is an emotion. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. So let's talk about what you're really feeling and understanding why and what we're going to do about it. So, one of the things that I noticed with adults is we were taught as children, just suck it up and move on. Like,
Yeah.
just feel about it. You're not allowed to be emotional, right? You're supposed to be calm, even if the parents are emotional. And so we had this discussion, and it really opened my eyes of, oh my gosh, we need to normalize it. It's okay to feel sad and feel it and let it go. and then you move on with the next day. It doesn't mean sadness isn't ever coming back. It just means for that moment, you didn't just push it down and keep busy and ignore it because it will resurface someday, right? Probably when you least expect it and when you don't want it. And so, really, just yes, we're emotional humans. We are. We're going to feel those, and it's normal. And some days, it doesn't feel good to have to feel sad for a moment or an hour or two, but it sure feels a lot better to feel it and process it than stuff it down and carry that heavy baggage to deal with later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are all good points.
Mhm.
Mhm. Well, any closing thoughts?
Here's what I want people to know. Um, there is an importance on discovering why you're here on Earth. We all have our purpose. To not be afraid of searching and figuring that out and why they're here, and really working on connecting their mind, their body, and their soul together so that we only have one body and we have to take care of it, right? We don't have to be perfect with it, but we do have to be nice to it. And that entails a lot of things. So, what I want people to know, it doesn't matter how old you are, the next best days of your life are still ahead of you. You just have to know that you can get there and you have to see it happening and then you have to take action with it.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, I will have Heather's information below, Giant Builders, so please take advantage of that information. And wow, Heather, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And especially sharing about your son. So that was very, very kind of you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Hope you have an amazing day.
All right. Well, Giant Builders, see you next week.
Thank you for listening. This has been The Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.